वे निर्वैर सी क्यों वैरी हो गए रुस के तुर गया कह गया फिर बुलाना नी होया जावी जे चित करिया मैं उत्थे आ होर कोई दिल नू शो जाऊ इदा होना नी होया जावी जे चित करिया मैं उत्थे आ होर कोई दिल नू शो जाऊ इदा होना ओ मेरे पक्ष च खड़ गया बाबल मेरा
कितना अच्छा लग रहा है, सन साथ साथ चल रहा है।
बेंडिगो बट मुझे पता नहीं अब वो कहाँ हो गया क्योंकि मैंने एड्रेस नहीं
Crew, this is our alley Mac lift. It's going to take 90 seconds to get to level 2. If we went underground in the mine cage that you saw, it only takes 20 seconds. So this is slow and relaxing. Ready to go. 3, 2, 1. Sometimes I don't count down. You're lucky. The shaft are going down in right now. We call this a rise. It's called a rise because they made it from the bottom going up, and they put the rise in the mid-1980s purely so we can take tourists to level 2, which is why I don't have anything else more interesting to tell you about it. 90 seconds is an awkward amount of time. It's like when you put something in a microwave for a minute and a half. You don't know whether to watch it or go away and do something else, but I've got nowhere else I can take you, so we're just going to ride this out. You'll notice a couple of puddles as we wander around at the start of the tour. That's normal. A lot of groundwater under Bendigo. Groundwater was the main reason a lot of deep mines back in the old days had to close, because the mines back then couldn't afford to keep getting the water out, not because they didn't know how to. So groundwater always has been, always will be a problem in Bendigo mining. Nothing you have to worry about today though. We've got big electric pumps down on level 4 that do the hard work. We've got nothing to worry about on level 2 where we're heading today.
What's on the level 1?
Pardon?
Is there a level 1?
There is a level 1. And if it was any good, we'd take you there. But there's nothing interesting. Welcome to level 2. It's just a platform. Just a little open area, that's it. Righto, as you're exiting the lift, please watch the little lip as you come out. Head over to the red door, wait for me at the red door. Over that red door over there. Watch that little step as you come out. Watch that step as you come out. Over to the red door, wait for me at the red door. You're now 61 metres underground. That's about 200 feet. Same height as a 22-storey building. That's how far underground you are right now. And behind me is the mine shaft we talked about very briefly at the surface. Now the mine shaft at Central Deborah is 422 metres deep to the very bottom. It's got 17 levels in it. That sounds like a long way, but it's not. Not by Bendigo standards. This is a shallow mine. The deepest mine in Bendigo is the Victoria Quartz Mine on Victoria Hill, and that mine was 1,406 metres deep, had 37 levels in it. It was the deepest mine in the world at one point. So what you're standing in right now, this is a baby mine. Oh, but I've got plenty of gold I'm going to show you later on. You'll see the good stuff. Now the mine shaft here is broken up into 4 different compartments. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Middle 2 compartments just here are the winding and haulage compartments. These are the compartments mine cages moved up and down in, carrying men and equipment like the mine truck just there in or out from underground. The compartment over that side looks half boarded up. We call that the smoke box. It acts like a chimney and it sucks air out. That's good. Helps air circulation. That's important because at the end of every shift, miners used to blast the rock apart with explosives. Creates dust and fumes. The smoke box will help draw the dust and fumes out so it was safer for the next miners underground. And the last compartment is this one over here. That's the ladder way. The ladder way is how miners would climb out from underground when they had to. Usually that was in case of emergency. So from here on level 2, it might take 15 minutes to climb back up to the top, and that's not bad. but there are 17 levels in this mine. So from level 10 and below, a miner was looking at a climb closer to 2.5 hours. That was after he finished an 8-hour mine shift. He didn't get paid to climb ladders. He climbed out for free, and he carried out any equipment he took down with him at the start of his shift, like his lunch bag. He carried that out as well. Not my idea of a fun time. I've climbed the ladders before. I climbed to level 10 before they flooded it. You should line up along the walls here for me. Get started out with my calculator. Yeah, beautiful. That'll do me. Thanks, mate. We're going to talk about rocks. Who'd have thought? Talk about rocks in a mine. Crazy. I'm reinventing the wheel here, aren't I? It was a successful gold-bearing area is because of its rock structures. What Bendigo has are called saddle reefs, and it's the particular type of saddle reef Bendigo's got that makes it so successful. Nova Scotia in Canada has a similar saddle reef structure to Bendigo, but outside of that, there's not many other places around the world that have what Bendigo has. So what happened was, 480 million years ago, this is the bottom of your ocean, right? Layers of sand and silt built up on top of each other, and over time they harden into rock, either sandstone or slate. That's what the majority of the rock under Bendigo is. It's either sandstone or slate. Fast forward 450 million years ago, compression in the Earth's surface from the east and west, these directions here, slowly squashed the flat layers of rock together. So instead of flat layers of rock, the rock under Bendigo was forced into waves like this, like a big sheet of corrugated iron is a good way of looking at it. And that helps to try and explain why the main gold-bearing part of Bendigo's goldfield was 15 kilometres north-south, but only 4 or 5 kilometres east-west. Declines, the part sloping down in a way we call synclines, and most of your good gold was usually found towards the top of those folds, in the anticlines. That's because in the folding process, gaps opened up. It allowed space for something called silica from deep in the Earth's surface to be forced up under pressure. Silica was a superheated liquid. It carried gold and other minerals with it, and it filled the gaps. When the silica cooled and hardened into the white rock we all know as quartz, that's what miners look for. They look for quartz reefs, because underground in Victoria, gold is only found in quartz reefs. So to find gold, you had to find your quartz reef first. So what do? Sink a mine shaft like that one. First tunnel that digs what you're standing on right now. We call this a crosscut. Sort of goes across your laser rock. Then we get to a point, they change direction, dig a tunnel in the north-south direction. We call that a drive. I like to think we're driving into the rock, driving after the gold. So we don't call them tunnels down here, we call them crosscuts and drives. But basically the reason Bendigo was successful is because saddle reefs here are predictable. They sit one on top of the other on top of the other, like big sheets of corrugated iron stacked on top of each other. And they were usually spaced out 25, 30, 40 metres apart. So when a miner went underground in Bendigo and found a quartz reef, he knew if he went down again he was going to find another one, and there'd be another one under that, and another one under that. That's how you can sink a mine shaft 1,406 metres deep. You keep going down. It's predictable mining, and that makes it easier mining because you know where to go. And that's half the battle in mining, knowing where to dig. The saddle reefs in Bendigo showed miners here exactly where they needed to be. So we like them. Right? They're good. Any questions about rocks? Righto. Miners call it a crib room. Right? Crib's an old Cornish term. It means light meal or lunch, and miners had meal breaks underground. They work an 8-hour mine shift and spend every minute of those 8 hours underground for 2 good reasons. Reason number 1 is efficiency. Mining's about getting as much rock out from underground as quick as possible. If you have lunch down here, it means as soon as you finish eating, straight back to work. Right? Efficiency, that's your first reason. Your second reason is to stop people stealing gold. I kept my eyes on Spider-Man. Right? The more times you move in and out of a mine, the more chance you've got to sneak gold out, hide it, not get caught. If you stay underground for 8 hours, you've got less opportunity, which is why there was a second way they tried to stop people stealing gold. It was at the surface, it's in the dirty change room. In the dirty change room worked a man called the rag picker, and the rag picker's job, go through every miner's clothes. As soon as he got out from underground, no questions asked, make sure there's no gold in there. I check his boots, make sure there's no gold in his boots. His ears, his nose, have a talk to the miner, make sure there's no gold in his mouth, behind his teeth. Beautiful beard like ours, got to comb that out, make sure there's no gold in there. Go through the miner's hair, everything, right? Showers in the change rooms as well, and there were no doors on the showers in the change rooms. You had to have a shower after your shift. so the rag picker could watch the miner wash and make sure he hadn't tried extra hard to sneak gold there. People think I've made that up, but I haven't. I'm not telling you that the rag picker was popular because he wasn't, but he had an important job to do, because if you got caught stealing gold, you were going to jail. You didn't just lose your job, you went to prison. It was a serious thing. The gold down here belonged to mining companies. Miners just got paid to get it out for them, exactly like it is working in a mine now, which is why there's one other way you can stop a miner from stealing your gold. Pay him well. So the basic weekly wage here at Central Deborah was above average for the time. So 1952, as an example, the minimum wage a miner could earn working underground here was £12 a week. In today's money, that equates to a little bit over $800 a week Australian. It's okay, but a lot of miners were on what we call the contract or piecework system. So that means they were paid for the amount of rock they pulled out. So good miners could earn 2 to 3 times the basic weekly wage. It's the guys who weren't on contracts who were more tempted to steal gold. It's dark down here too. Pitch black underground without light. Towards the centre of our anticlinal fold, we're going to find our quartz reef soon. Miners call this area centre country, and I've stopped here to point out the wooden structure because it's an important piece of safety. This is what miners were building when they felt the rock was unsafe and they needed protection. Alright, so in Bendigo, we call these types of structures timber sets. They had different names for them on different goldfields. Over towards Ballarat, they call them talking timbers. But here in Bendigo, we call them timber sets. Now, they're made of legs on the side. Big guy across the top, that's the cap. And the boards that run along the roof or run along the walls, we call lagging. And the lagging does the hard work because it catches the rocks whenever they fell. Now, usually, you'd never use nails when you build these. It's wet. It's horrible down here. Nails rust. And your job as a miner is to get rock out, not to replace rusty nails. So what they used instead, the big joins on the corners, right? They're called joggle joints. And because of the moisture, makes the timber swell, makes the joints tight. Coupled with the wedges they put in between the roof of the mine and the lagging that would squash everything down. Nice strong structure that requires basically no maintenance. And this was local timber. Don't use red gum like the mine shaft, just use whatever trees were closest to the mine to build these. So in Bendigo, the local trees are either ironbark or grey box. If you've ever seen any pictures of the gold fields, there's never any trees in the pictures. They're down here. They're all propping up mines. That's why there's a hill at the back of the university in Bendigo called One Tree Hill. That requires no explanation from me. You guys at the back can wrap yourselves around. You don't have to be in a straight line. It's a school day today, so you don't have to be in a straight line. Quick look up at the roof. Not a lot of support rock is, but it did mean at the start of every shift, miners check the rock anyway, make sure it's safe. We call that technique sounding, or sanding the back. Always nickname the roof of the mine the back, because over in Cornwall, when they were digging rock off the floor, back was pointing to the roof of the mine. So you always nickname the roof of the mine the back. So, what they do, grab a pinch bar like this one, hit into the rock, listen to the noise it makes, and that's it. Nice solid sound, a ringing noise like a bell, ding-a-ling-a-ling. Thumbs up, rock safe, keep mining, no problems. If it makes an echoey, hollow noise though, a little bit like a funny sounding drum, thumbs down, that's no good. Got to do more work to make it safe. All right, you might use the pinch bar, all right, and smash the weak rock out. We call that barring down or scaling. It is something we still do. If that doesn't work, they build timber sets, or in more modern mining, they put in rock bolts. All right, so all around on the walls, you see the square metal plates, circles in the middle of them. Those are rock bolts. They're a modern way we keep the rocks safe. I'll explain them in a minute. But what I'm going to do first, I'm going to hit the rock for you. And my 2 mini miners here, you're going to tell me if the rock's safe. No pressure. Important job. All right, so if it makes a ringing noise like a bell, give me a thumbs up. Echo and hollow like a drum, thumbs down. Oh, good technique. Happy? You happy? There we go, beautiful. The suspense. Yeah, I'm happy with that too. Right above my head. Sorry, mate, I'm going to have to get you. What about that one? Happy with that one? Yeah, I'm not happy with that one. I'm not happy with that one. That's why there's a rock bolt. All right, can't do that without a rock bolt. Too much paperwork involved. Well done, you two. I did a fantastic job. Now, timber sets took a long time to build, so when rock bolts came along, it made life easier for miners, and this is the type of rock bolt we use down here now. It's called a split set. Developed in the US in the 70s, made of spring steel. Spring steel wants to stay open, which is why there's a gap running down the front of them. So, what the miner does, he gets a drill, drills a hole in the rock. It's a little bit skinnier and longer than the split set, and using the same drill, he drives a split set into the hole. Smaller hole closes the gap at the front. Spring steel wants to stay open, so it pins itself against the walls of the hole it's been drilled through, pins the laser rock together. Each one of these split sets can hold up to 7 tons worth of weight. All right, so all around on the walls, you see the square metal plates, circles in the middle of them. It's the end of a split set roughly this long, holding up to 7 tons. And we've got a heap of mesh on this wall here too. Mesh does the same job that lagging does, just catches the rocks whenever they fell, and if we really want to, spray it all with concrete. It's called shotcreting. All right, but that's enough of this safety stuff. You want a proper idea of mining life? It's gold time. We've got to find the good stuff. All right, we're going to see the gold now.
Any research on this shoot?
In this front window, not really labelled in the back 2 windows. You'll be expert miners down the back there by the time I finish talking about it. What we've got though, this is a very small quartz reef, but not every quartz reef got mined. It had to be profitable to mine. So that means for every tonne of quartz they pulled out from underground, they had to find at least 10 grams worth of gold in it. 1 tonne worth of quartz is 2 mine trucks filled with the white rock. 10 grams worth of gold's about the size of the top of your little finger. That's it. That's all they had to find per tonne for a reef to be considered profitable. So 15 years worth of mining. Oh, helmet has to stay on. Helmet has to stay on, boss. If you've got an itchy head, what you have to do is you have to grab the helmet by the sides like this and squidge it around like that. There you go. Beautiful technique. Well done. All right. Right, so 10 grams worth of gold is about the size of the top of your little finger. That's it. That's all they had to find per tonne for a reef to be considered profitable. So 15 years worth of mining in Central Deborah, they removed 64,000 tonnes worth of quartz, 40,000 tonnes worth of mullock, for a grand total of 929 kilos worth of gold, a little bit under a tonne. We were not considered a very profitable gold mine back in the old days, even though that amount of gold now is worth over 90 million Australian dollars. We weren't considered very profitable back then though. Now I can hear you thinking, Baz, if it wasn't a very profitable mine, why is there some nice gold here? And the answer is the old miners didn't find this part of the reef when it was an operational mine. The closest they got was about 10 metres on the other side of the wall up the front, about a week's worth of mining away. It was World War II at the time. They were short-staffed. They were in ankle-deep water. They had no sign of the quartz reef yet, so they gave up. They moved down to level 6 and they never came back to level 2. You can also hear you thinking, but Baz, if you guys came along afterwards and you found this part of the reef, why didn't you take the gold? And the answer is, there's more money in tourism. There's a small amount of gold in the wall. But take the gold out, I've got nothing to show you. So we left it for you. Now your gold, if you haven't noticed already, it's got that nice, rich, yellow-looking colour to it. But yeah, it does seem pretty small. In actual fact, the gold you're looking at here is considered really, really big for underground quartz mining. Usually what they looked for was so small and fine, the only way they could see it is by crushing the quartz up into sand and stamping batteries at the surface and releasing the gold from that quartz. So the fact you can see it, big gold for underground quartz mining. Big gold. The problem I have though, is that when I talk to people about gold, people start thinking about big gold nuggets like the welcome stranger. Big, beautiful gold nuggets the size of your head. That's alluvial gold. It's surface gold. And even though alluvial nuggets could be big like that, there's not many of them like it. Far more gold was trapped underground in hard rock like this, and that's where about 80% of Bendigo's gold came from. Hard rock, like you're looking at now. There's gold. Fool's gold. Right now, there's a small amount of gold in fool's gold, but you got to use nasty chemicals like cyanide to leach it out, and that was never something this mine did. So fool's gold is sparkly, it's shiny, and it's pretty. There's a heap of it on the back wall up here. Don't fall for it. It's the rich yellow stuff behind the glass you want, not the sparkly, shiny, pretty stuff on the back wall. Right? Get up there, have a good look at your gold, right? Have a look at that fool's gold. Once you've done that, you can move on then down this way towards me a little bit. Make sure you have a good look at that gold. That's my favourite piece of gold here. We like this bit. You alright? Okay. Yeah, you can try and touch it. How'd you go? Did you get it?
और आए
I've never been able to touch it.
छोटे हैं
लिखा था
Last time I knuckled it.
वो ये वाला जो
That's
सामने
alright, there's another tour in an hour.
येलो येलो सा
ग्रे वाले का जो वाइट है
वो जो दाने दाने से
Bring it down.
वो गोल्ड है
वो गोल्ड है ना
इधर भी और जो बीच वाला है वो पायराइट है मतलब जो वाइट कलर
चिपकाने
It's 5 to 7 times harder than concrete. You can't break it open with a pick like you do in Minecraft. That's not how it works down here. The only way we can make these areas we've walked on today is by drilling holes into the rock, filling them all with explosives and blowing it to pieces. It's called drilling and blasting. And in the early days of mining, this is the technique they used to drill holes. Hammer and tap technique. Old German and Cornish technique. Quarter turn at a time. Chip away a hole in the rock. Big enough to fit explosives. Looks a little bit like this in action. Now, one man could do that job, but it was easier to do it in a team. Alright, so what they do is they have one man holding that tap against the wall doing the quarter turns, one or two other miners with those hammers swinging as hard as they could. Working in a team, 1 metre hole would take you 4 hours. You need at least 12 holes for an effective blast pattern, slow process. And that's what miners had to do underground in the early days of mining until they had enough space to get compressed air lines down so they could run big pneumatic drills like these ones, the compressed air run drills. Right, so the big green guy here in the corner, this is what we call a stroker or reciprocator. These types of drills first hit the gold fields in the mid to late 1860s. This particular drill was built in Bendigo in the early 1880s. So it's over 140 years old. It weighs 150 kilos and can drill a 1 metre hole in about 40 minutes. That's heaps quicker. Massive problem with it though. Kicked up lots of dust. Dust filled the air, miners breathed it in. What they're breathing in contains silica. It's a natural type of glass. It sets on their lungs and they develop something called silicosis or miner's complaint. The life expectancy of a miner using a drill like that was 40 years of age if he was lucky. That's why they nicknamed them widowmakers. Silicosis was the biggest killer across the goldfields at that time, more than any other cause of death, particularly in Bendigo. But you have to give them credit because they figured out that all you had to do to get rid of dust was to have a man standing here with a hose of water pointed at the hole. Only took roughly 20 years to figure that out. This drill though, this is my favourite, this is our drifter drill. This is the drill we used at Central Deborah for the entire 15 years the mine operated. Now drifter drills came along in the early 1900s, but what you crew need to know about them is that the drill steel is hollow. So that means that as the miner was drilling, he'd pump it full of water and he'd get rid of dust. He'd turn it into a mud, we call it slurry, so they eliminated the dust problem. All the water running through there also means the drill tip stays cool so it stays sharper for longer. It's more efficient and effective. This drill can drill a 1.5 metre hole in 15 minutes. I'm turning it on for you. But it's going to be exceptionally loud. Right, you're looking at about 113 decibels. So, what I need everyone to do, as best as you can, is to block your ears for me. As best as you can, block your ears. Block in your ears for me. Block in your ears. Block in your ears. Beautiful, beautiful. Blocking those ears for me. Block in your ears. One in the corner called the Bendigo drag cut. It was developed for use here at Bendigo wherever drifter drills were used. Now they start off by drilling holes at the top. They're called back holes, and every half metre down or so, drill more holes till you reach these yellow ones that are angled down towards the floor. They're called cut holes. They're supposed to be about miners' waist height. Right? Miners were short fellas in the old days. Last ones you drill out are the ones on the floor. They're called lifters. You clean them all out and you pack them full of explosive. We use gelignite. 4 sticks of gelignite per hole. Use gelignite because it's safer and controllable. Would not blast apart unless there was a detonator attached to it. Unlike a lot of early explosives like dynamite, which you blast apart for no reason at all. Right, so we like gelignite, much safer. You can see there in the middle we've got blast cord as well. Blast cords cut to different lengths because you needed the explosions to go off one at a time in a very specific order. You needed the cut holes to blast down first. Bang! That creates a weakness in that rock. Gives us an area for those explosives above it to blast into. Right? Bang, 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 bang. One at a time. They blast up to the back holes. And the last ones to go with those lifters. they'd pick up and dump the rock and material into the crosscut or drive, so it was easier for the next crew to clean up. All 16 to 20 tonnes of it. So to set it off, miner gets his Bendigo bucket lamp like we looked at earlier, he'd light up the fuses and then he'd walk all the way back round to the plat where we started our tour underground today. And that's where the miner stops, he waits, he counts. He counts all 20 of those explosions to make sure they've gone off. If you count 20, beautiful, job's done. Into the mine cage, home time. You only counted 19 or 18, there's been a misfire, something's gone wrong. So what the miner did then, went back to the surface anyway, told the next crew's problem to fix. It's not because he's lazy, because if you come back too soon after a misfire and it blows up delayed, people got hurt. Plenty of time between each shift for everything to settle down, and the next crew knew how to handle the problem. Safety first. There was only one death in this mine, it had nothing to do with explosives, so safety is important. Alright, this is a burn cut, it's a more modern pattern. You can use an air leg drill to drill this pattern in, but you don't use explosive to create the weakness anymore. Just use a bigger drill bit, drill the weakness into the face like you can see just there. Around the weakness, that's where you drill smaller holes. Diamond, square shaped patterns, out and out till you reach the width and the height of the drive. It's the smaller holes you're going to fill with explosive. And they don't use gelignite anymore either. Far more modern explosives these days. The two mines on the outskirts of Bendigo use emulsion as their explosive of choice. They don't use blast core to set it off, they use electric detonators now. And they certainly don't just move 50 metres and around the corner and hope for the best like they used to do in the old days. Safety standards have changed. The whole mine gets evacuated now, it's not a bad thing. But what we're going to do, keep your eyes on the burn cut. I've got it wired up and ready to go. I'll show you what we're talking about in terms of a pattern or a sequence. Now, there's been some water over the last couple of weeks getting to a couple of sets of these lights, so some of the lights aren't working, but the sound does work. So you can get the idea of the spacing and the timing between each set of explosives. Are you ready? Fire in the hole. Starts off small around the weakness, it moves further and further out, it's expanding the weakness. That's the basic principle all blast patterns work on. They're expanding the weakness the miner creates, and they're going to blast back as far back as they can drill those holes. So the Bendigo drag cut that they used when this was an operational mine, the holes are 1.5 meters deep. The burn cut behind me that they used in the 80s when they expanded these cross cuts and drives for tours, those holes were 2 meters deep, and it was never the sound they'd listen for to count those explosions back then because they're all deaf, they couldn't hear it. Right, so they're counting the vibration in the ground from each explosion. That's how they used to count them. Any questions about blasting? Get you to take half a step forward here. There's a little bit of water dripping off the back, so move forward a little bit. There you go. You guys can wrap yourselves around the corner. Righto, last stop. In Australian mining, when they get rid of rock from underground, it's called bogging or bogging out. And at Central Deborah, we're using a very important piece of equipment. They're shovels. 15 years worth of mining, that's all they use to get the rock out from underground down here. Nickname for these things is the banjo because of the shape of them and the sound they made moving across rocks. Now miners always worked in pairs. Using the banjos, they could fill a mine truck like that one in the corner with 500 kilos worth of rock in 10 minutes. Then they had to push that full mine truck back to the plat. That could be 500 metres away. Get an empty mine truck, push it back again. Keep doing that until they got rid of 16 to 20 tonnes of material. And that's before they drilled holes in the rock. Before they blasted the rock apart. On top of any other job they did down here, like buildings, timber sets, and sounding. That was your 8-hour mine shift every time you were here. Clear rock, drill holes, blow rock to bits so the next crew could do the same thing. So you can move the cross-cut or drive 1.5 meters a shift. That's how Bendigo got its gold out. Hard work and effort. Big yellow things like these came along and made life easier though. That's what we call a rocker shovel or a rail bogger. Alright, these came along in the late 1930s and they were designed specifically to work in the small space mines like what we would have had here. Now they ran on compressed air like drills did and you only need one man to run them. Platform off the side the operator stood on. Controls on the side, bucket at the front. Drive it forward, pick up your rocks, swing the bucket over, you could fill a mine truck up in 2 minutes, heaps quicker. But it was never used here at Central Deborah for one pretty good reason. Banjos are cheaper. Always comes down to money in mining. These are heaps cheaper than these. Right? You've got to remember, by the end of the Second World War, there was only 4 mines left operational in Bendigo, and none of them had the money available to purchase this type of equipment. So they were never used during the historic period of mining in Bendigo, even though they're available at the time. It's here now because they used it in the 80s when they expanded the crosscuts and drives for tools. Any last minute underground questions before we go round to the lift and back up to the top?
कितनी ठंड है?
कौन सा क्वेश्चन पूछना है?
I'm from a place called Curramborough in South Gippsland, down over towards Phil Island. And this way we go.
फोटो ले लो ना, फोटो से पूछ लो।
I'll talk to you about Gippsland when we get up to the top, eh? Manganese. Manganese is just a mineral within the rock that's reacting with the water as it comes through the cracks, exactly like the rust does.
Okay.
So manganese is what that stuff is. Alright, what you can do now as we're going up, you can turn your cap lamps off for me, but keep your helmets on until we get up to the top, please. Ready, steady. Not as excited going up. There you go. You got one more. There you go. There you go. Righto. That's alright. If you didn't know what shotcreting was before, there you go. That's that spray on concrete. That's what's on the walls of operational mines, like on the outskirts of Bendigo. It's all meshed, bolted and shotcreted. The closest operational mine to this mine is the Fosterville Gold Mine. It's about 30 minutes down the road in that direction. It's what we call a deep decline mine, big 6x6 tunnels. Drive trucks underground. It's over 1,400 metres deep down there now. It's over 37 degrees at the bottom. Humidity down there is in the 80s or the 90s. And they've pulled out over 4 million ounces worth of gold from the mine that operates on the outskirts of Bendigo. You're not allowed to mine under the city anymore though. Right? That's why that mine operates out there. There's nothing on top of it. They use so much explosive out there when they're blasting the rock apart underground. They have what's called man-made seismic events. They've got to tell everyone that wasn't an earthquake. We just use lots of explosive today. Alright, lift's going to stop with the jolts. Ready? Stop!
Oh.
He's back. It's righto. Bye guys, helmets in the mine truck. Then what I get you to do, move around to the bottom of the ramp. Wait for me over there, we'll all head up to the surface together. Helmets in the mine truck, round to the ramp. If you've got a hand there, there's a pin under the floor extinguisher over there. Head on over into the ramp. Over in that direction. My truck just over here. You're all you can get that on. That's it. There you go, Spider-Man. You take it off finally. Good work, brother. Well done. Well done. I feel like I'm still yelling at everyone, sorry. Tour guide voice.
See what will happen. See what happen.
Righto. Quickly say my goodbyes. Thank you very much for coming today. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed yourselves and had fun. I hope you learned something. Any extra questions, please hang back afterwards. Hopefully I've got an answer for you. But remember, Bendigo was the richest city in the world at one point. And that made Melbourne the richest city in the world at one point. Because that's where the gold went. It rolled down the road to Melbourne, didn't it? Right now, if you haven't already, the buildings at the top are the original buildings from the site. They're heritage listed buildings. Please check those out. There's a stamping battery down the back. There's panning troughs down the back. And there's a gold museum down the back. But more importantly than all of that, all right, stay safe. And thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, mate.
3, 2, 1, go. ट्रैम ड्राइवर धीरे चलो
I can't go that slow. We need to go to the high point.
और घुमाती रहेगी क्या तू
जब तक हैंडल हाथ में नहीं आ गया